Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
And we begin. We ask Sanchari to please. We ask Sanchari to please begin the program again with a delightful bhajan.
राम पतित पावन सीताराम ईश्वर अल्लाह तेरो नाम सबको सन्मति दे भगवान ईश्वर अल्लाह तेरो नाम सबको सन्मति दे भगवान जय जय रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम मुख में तुलसी घट में राम जब बोलो तब सीताराम मुख में तुलसी घट में राम जब बोलो तब सीताराम जय जय रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम कौशल्या का वाला राम दशरथ जी का प्यारा राम कौशल्या का वाला राम दशरथ जी का प्यारा राम जय जय रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम बंसी वाला हे घनश्याम धनुषधारी सीताराम बंसी वाला हे घनश्याम धनुषधारी सीताराम जय जय रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम पतित पावन सीताराम पतित पावन सीताराम.
Thank you, Sanchari. It's beautiful. Today is Sunday, May 20th, 2018, and we are all here for a special event. The special event is that we are together for the beginning of a new series on the Bhagavad Gita. This is series 2018, class number 1, and Swamiji is going to bless us with the beginning of this new series. And now, our revered Guru.
Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Having offered adorations to Lord Narayana, God who is the abode of all souls, and to Nara, Arjuna, and to Narottama, Lord Krishna, and to Goddess Saraswati and Sage Vyasa, one should recite the scripture of victory, the Mahabharata. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. I adore Sri Krishna, who is the son of Vasudeva, the destroyer of Kansa. Kansa is ignorance. And Chanura, that is subtle, negative, subconscious desires. Giver of supreme joy, Devaki. Devaki is the intellect, purity of intellect within you. And who is the preceptor of the whole world. Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandana partho vatsah sudhir bhokta dugdham gita mritam mahat. All the Upanishads are cows. The milker is Krishna, the delighter of the cowherds. Arjuna is the calf. Persons with purified intellect are the drinkers of this milk. And the milk is the nectar of the Gita. I have just selected few invocatory verses. There are lots of them. But my style is to bring only the highlight of the teachings. The first chapter of the Gita, I'll just give you few verses. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsava. To begin it more properly, Dhritarashtra uvacha. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsava. Mamakaha pandavaschaiva kim kurvata ar sanjaya. Dhritarashtra asked, O Sanjaya, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, assembled in the holy plain of Kurukshetra, eager to fight? And then Sanjaya begins, and there is a whole description of a picture of both armies, their generals, and I'm not leading you into that, because there are a lot of armies right here. I'm not talking here, in the world. However, when time permits, I may be touching some of those references. That's a vast story presented in Mahabharata. Arjuna is the soul, and there are two parties. Party relating to the higher self, party relating to the lower self. Also, you must know, it's a subtle insight into everyone's life. Soul within you is Arjuna, and the soul of the soul is Krishna. There isn't a spot where these two are not there. So in the storyline, Pandavas faced lots of challenges. Kauravas created lots of conspiracies against Pandavas. Lots and lots. And now situation has come that there is nothing but war that can resolve the problem. This war again is an allegorical term. As you pass through in the world process, in every embodiment, the world that you experience is a form of interaction between your higher self and lower self. Lower self plays the part of your desire, anger, hatred, animosity, confusion, moha. Higher self brings compassion, generosity, humility, gaining insight into who am I, who is God, Godward movement. One is opposite movement, another is Godward movement. Lower self drags you to the downward movement. I'm not saying dogward movement. Because I don't want to give unnecessary unnecessary definition for dog. So, in a storyline, when even Krishna came to bring about peace, but Duryodhana, this head of the Kauravas, he didn't. Rather, he wanted to imprison Krishna. Krishna had to show his Virat form. So that's a whole allegorical, picturesque story. Let me give just simple points. When you study Mahabharata, you find two sets. One is called Dushta Chatushtaya, another called Shishta Chatushtaya. Your mental process has four aspects. Four is called quadruplets or fourfold. Chitta is unconscious. Chitta plays gamble. That's what it's like. The unconscious has nothing, doesn't like anything to be defined and follow in a precision. All this allegorical point. Duryodhana is ahamkar, ego. When you question what the ego is nowhere. It has no power. But that's the mystery. That ego is the dominating figure in your lower self that constantly keeps the soul in a state of turmoil. It has 100 brothers. They all are sons of Dhritarashtra, who is blind. The blind state means absolute ignorance. And Karna. Karna's role is very mystical role. He represents intellect. The source of intellect is divine. But when intellect becomes blended with ego, that's called malina buddhi, impure intellect. That intellect becomes the source of greatest trouble. Karna plays that role. And then there is Dushasana. He's manas, conscious mind. See, your mind has four aspects. Conscious mind is called manas. Mind that picks up so many perceptions, that deals with practical reality through your senses. But while the mind deals with it, it is intellect that gives evaluation, whether you should like this or whether you should like that. If mind is stupid, malign, it starts picking up all that is negative in the world. And your buddhi, intellect, helps your mind to pick up negative things. I'm talking malina buddhi, or this. And the buddhi, instead of allowing the soul to prosper or to progress, it wants the ego to be inflated. And that ego is Duryodhana. And Chitta is played by Shakuni. So the four personalities, Shakuni, a big gambler, who always helps Duryodhana the ego. Whenever Duryodhana has problem, Shakuni creates a gamble project. So instead of my going to distracted dimensions, just 4 points. Your antahakarana has unconscious, subconscious, that's called chitta. It has ego, ahamkara, that evaluates, creates me and mine. And it has intellect that plays its foxy cleverness. And mind that experiences the practical world. These all four is the wicked four. Counteracting the wicked four is a divine set. Soul within you is Arjuna. And that soul is corresponding to the ego. For higher self, ego is soul itself. So where Duryodhana is on one side, now let me. So Arjuna is the soul. Krishna is the chariot driver of the soul. Krishna is the divine intellect. Same buddhi that is on one side, Karna, on the other side, Krishna. Karna is the malina buddhi, impure. Krishna is the intuitive buddhi. Soul within you is always in a chariot. Your whole personality is the chariot. And Yudhishthira is a sattvic, pure chitta. And Bhima plays the role of mind. Mana buddhi chitta ahamkar. Mind is Bhima. Buddhi is Krishna. Chitta is Yudhishthira, who is the embodiment of dharma. Ahamkar, the ego, the I am, is Arjuna. Remember 4 Shishta Chatushtaya, the divine four. The other four, wicked four. And they are woven into the big plot of Mahabharata. And now plot has come to a very critical situation. On one side you see the Kauravas, another side Pandavas. Arjuna has asked Krishna to drive the chariot in such a way that he can look at both sides in the storyline, but in sadhana line, as you begin to develop spiritual maturity, first point enters into your mind is called Sakshi Bhav, witness. You are able to see all that challenge that is before you, the positive aspect of it, the negative aspect of it. A kind of a vertical view. So that's what Arjuna is playing that role. Krishna brings the whole chariot in the midst of two armies. And even the armies are described as Arjuna's side called Pandavas. Duryodhana's side they are called Kauravas. That again, everything has a deeper meaning. Pandavas leading to Pandita. Pandita term relates to mind that has single aim of attaining viveka buddhi, discriminative intellect. Panda sanjayate buddhi, sa pandita. Panda term relates to viveka buddhi. So they are Pandavas. The other side is Kauravas. Kauravas, they are driven to karma. Karma that keeps people in a state of bondage. The army of the Kauravas is 11 Akshauhini. I'm not going into the mathematics. They have a whole set of calculations. How many soldiers, how many chariots and all that. But all that is allegorical. And Pandava has only 7. That's the mathematical relation between. You come to a stage of seeing all your negative come in the category of 11. Still it's very big. And the positive in you is only 7. But don't be afraid. Krishna put 7 and 11 together. 80. In mathematics, 1 and 8 is 9. And 9 multiplied by anything, it is always 9. Therefore, in Hindu culture, 18, 108 plays a very great part. Every mala is 108 beads. So that's the setting. And when Krishna brings Arjuna in the middle of, and he is able to see both sides. And he comes to a state of developing intense dispassion and proposes that he would rather take sannyasa than be involved in action. First chapter, therefore, I am skipping it, which is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It gives you all relating to the great heroes on Pandava side, on Kaurava side. And I'm coming to second chapter. Second chapter, seventh verse. Karpanya doshopahata svabhavah prichhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta yat shreyah syanishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. My inner heartfelt feeling, my swabhava, is afflicted with the fault of faint-heartedness, karpanya dosha. And my mind is confused as to my duty. I entreat you, O Krishna, tell me decisively, what is good for me? I am your disciple. I have taken refuge in you. Please do instruct me. Now let me give you deeper meaning. You must first realize it is always said, Krishna said to Arjuna. Try to understand. Vyasa wrote all this. He was not there in the field. So it's nothing to do with history. Vyasa's inspiration and his wisdom is brought out in the form of dialogue between God and very advanced aspirant, with the purpose of presenting whole sadhana process. And that Vyasa, in doing that, his inspiration was so great. He brought out the essence of all scriptures. He didn't give credit to himself, he gave credit to Krishna. He is the one who milked all the cows. How could he give credit to himself? He's jnani. Himself means ego. Now let me give you the flavor. Sometimes you can go deep into this study, chew it more, and the more you chew, the better it tastes. Karpanya doshopahata svabhava. Svabhava is your innate nature. An innate nature, if you are healthy, it should be full of joy, because you are sustained by God Himself, who has created the whole universe. You are in the arms of Mother Saraswati. And never for a moment can you be separated. That's the status if Dushtatushthaya is not controlling your soul. Wicked four, if the mindset is not ugly, impure, then you will have absolute joy. But that great joyous potency is obstructed by the wicked four. Each time you look within yourself, you are not seeing the soul. You are looking at your ego and the picture presented by your ego. And as long as this condition exists, it is a disease. Bhava vyadhi. You are not yourself. And what is your trouble? Called karpanya dosh. Karpanya literally means miserly. Humorously, it means miserably. Now let me elaborate this point. Every individual has a divine potentiality which expresses in 3 stages. Let me turn your attention to a Upanishadic parable. When Brahma created the world, he gave instructions to 3 great personalities: God, human being, and a demoniac person. And when he was giving the instruction, he simply said, "Da," and asked God, "What do you understand?" God said, "Daman. I must keep mind and senses in order. They should not drive me, I should drive them." So that ability within you makes you divine. Human representative, understood by the Dan, live to practice charity. You have 5-fold debts, live to pay those debts. And what are those debts? I'm moving into big extension. You are indebted to animals and birds. You are indebted to human beings. Every moment you are sustained by what human beings have done. The clothes you wear, the cell phones you use, and all the big travels and flying in the air and all the things that go on every moment. It's a result of human beings and their effort. Live your life in such a way that you can pay back. You can do something that adds to peace and harmony in human beings. Third, you are indebted to all your forefathers, your parents, how much they have contributed to your growth and your nourishment, and parents' parent and parents' parent. And so therefore, can you give glory to your parents, do something that people will remember? You are indebted to sages and saints, the 4th type of debt, because they have given guidance how one should live to maintain advanced culture. And ultimately, God. God in many aspects. They were in, and that I don't have to explain. So if you are paying your debt, and very simple mantra behind the debt is be good, do good. If you are doing that, then you are really practicing dhan. You have a charitable heart, giving charity to yourself, charity to others. And so, if you are not doing that, and then coming to the lower self, anger, hate, greed, and all these that keep the mind very rough, and your heart becomes like a stone. The mantra behind it is daya. Have mercy, compassion. Look at yourself each time when you are in difficulty. You expect people to understand you. Ignore your evil and be kind to you. So learn that lesson. And if you learn it, your negativity will begin to come down. So think of these three da. Da, daman, control your mind and senses. Put them in the right order. Da, give charity, be charitable with human beings. Da, remove your negativity by being compassionate, doing good to others. If you are unable to do these three types of da, then you are miserly. Karpanya dosha. Arjuna says, my nature is afflicted by the fault of karpanya, translated as faint-heartedness. And my intellect is confused as to my duty. Dharma sammudha cheta. Let me give you deeper meaning. Dharma. Dharma. Dhar relates to dhriti, firmness. Ma relates to nectar, amrita. Relates to immortality. If you have a firm focus on attaining immortality, you are pursuing the path of dharma. Yato dharmas tato jaya. And if you are pursuing it, you are going to attain victory. There is no doubt about it. Because dharma wins. Light wins over darkness. And Arjuna complains that his understanding of dharma has become confused. Mudha cheta. Mudha term means dull wit. The dull wit mind, unable to have a clear understanding the difference between what seems joyous, pleasant. Difference between what is good and what is pleasant. What is good is called Shreya. What's pleasant is called Preya. You're always allow your mind to move towards what is pleasant. But what's needed is control your movement. Bad association. The moment you go there, they are talking about drinks and drugs and wonderful experiences. Seems pleasant, but have discrimination. That pleasure is going to take you away from your inner strength that allows you to do the three types of Daya, Dan, Daman, that allows your soul to rise. Therefore, move away from that apparent pleasure to what is good. The type of experience you get is not joyless. Pleasure seems full of joy, but in reality it is not so. Now you are moving towards real happiness. Real happiness is characterized by increasing serenity of mind. You can enjoy peace. Unreal happiness is characterized by more distraction. The moment there is a happy moment in a Rajasic society, immediately call 50 people. Rejoice it, celebrate it. You have not a moment of peace. All that you are counting, who has come, who didn't come, why didn't he come? Whole volume of details begin to come out of that. And the people call it celebration. What? So, your intellect comes to that understanding of what is Shreya, what is really good for you. Just to follow what people like, is social value, or should you follow something that enables your soul to experience? The soul movement is not dependent upon others' views. You have to have a clear understanding. Be guided by God within you. Follow the path of Dharma. I am your Shishya. I am your disciple. And I have surrendered to you. Shishya term also. Short term relates to all that is auspicious, good, the divine potentiality. Ishya, you have aspiration to allow your divine potentiality to be revealed to you, to realize it. If you have interest in self-realization, you are a Shishya. If you have interest in being good, you are a Shishya. And surrender term is Sanskrit word is prapannam. Pandam, bowing down, surrendering your ego. And as you do, you are led to Paramatma. Prapannam term is that type of humility that leading to goal. And that simple way we say, I have surrendered. Ninth verse. Sanjay Uvacha. No, but first. Even if I were to attain undisputed sovereignty over the whole world and conquer even the gods, I do not see how could I remedy this grief that is consuming my senses. It is kind of a healthy sensitivity towards the disease you are suffering from. Let me explain. Human mind has very ordinary, simple aspiration. Today has gone boring, let tomorrow be wonderful. I have become prosperous, let me win a big lottery. I have some people who know me, but let the world know me. Let me go virus. Viral, not virus. I'm trying to bring with the imagery in the mind of people what they consider greatness. And a mature understanding that if all the dreams of your mind are just presented to you, are you going to be happy? You'll be so miserable you couldn't imagine. One little ring you put in your finger, and it has jewels in it. And all the time you are concerned, then nobody takes that away. And when you have all this, you are all the time concerned how to secure it. Should I enjoy my garden? Or should I enjoy my car? Should I enjoy my upper story of the building? Should I take a plane? Oh God, should have given me 1,000 heads. The end result is you cannot find satisfaction. It's simple, you simply go on creating more and more craving. Trishna na jirna vayameva jirna. The more you try to fulfill your desires, the more you become involved in having more and more. And you don't have any definition of what, how much. That's called the pravritti movement. Moving towards alpam, no matter how much you have, it is an illusion. It's little. And then The next choice, attaining bhuma, being one with God, moving away from all this, utilizing all this as glory of God, looking after all illuminations as the glory of the sun. Your goal is not illumination, you want to be the sun. And that type of movement is real movement. That's moksha, liberation, that's God realization. That's called bhuma. Eva muktva hrishikesham gudakeshah parantapah na yothyaiti govindam uktva tushnim babhuvaha. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, O king, having thus spoken to Bhagavan Hrishikesha, God is called Hrishikesha. It has two meanings. Hrishik means infinite joy. Kesh, Isha is the Lord of joy. And another meaning is he is the Lord of your mind and senses. He who inspires all your experiences. It refers to the Upanishadic statement. Who enables your senses to perceive the objects of the world? Mind. But who directs your mind? Intellect. Who directs your intellect? Intellect of the intellect. The source is divine. So the divine source behind all your perceptions, by your senses, by your mind, by your intellect, by your feeling, the ultimate source is Hrishikesha. And it is this Hrishikesha that has become Rishikesha. Rishi is a little difficult to go on pronouncing. So Rishikesha. People always simplify. When the name is loved more, it is simplified more. Eva muktva hrishikesha prasanniva bharata. The beauty of the language. Krishna, as if laughing, but not laughing. The riddle is resolved. He is smiling. Krishna hears all this, and with a smiling face, he begins to answer Arjuna. He's not laughing, not ridiculing, you foolish Arjuna. But lovingly he is smiling. And also, Arjuna has been addressed as Gudakesha. Two words are used for him, Gudakesha and Parantapa. Gudakesha means conqueror of sleep. People take it literally. Lakshmana was also described that way. The sleep doesn't relate to actual sleep that you need to have, that's healthy. But it means you do not develop pramad. Pramad means kind of a sloth. Anyhow, anything you have to face, you can't understand. I am not in a mood. I'll be tomorrow, I will be in a better mood. But tomorrow you get many more challenges. So that's not the art of life. Art of life is face your challenges day by day. And you have the resources, you start using them. If you constantly practice the negative way, because negative habit grows by practice. Positive grows also by practice. Negative goes each time, I will be a better thinker tomorrow. Why not start saying, I am the best thinker right now? So Gudakesha relates to that. Again, the word, Sanskrit word has many. It also means, which people generally don't interpret that way, dense hair. Kesh is hair, Guda is good. In the storyline, Arjuna had a wonderful set of hair. In mystic line, hair represents your impressions, samskaras. And those samskaras are profound in Arjuna. That's why you see Shiva with matted locks, which is not, it's a divine quality. So that is Gudakesha. And he is also known as Parantapa. Parantapa is one who tortures, sends his enemies to fiery torture, destroys his enemies. In a storyline, as a hero fighting in a battle, he is a great force against powerful enemies. Mystic line, your enemies are Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Perverted desire, Kama. Krodha, anger. Lobha, greed. Moha, infatuation. Mada, pride. Matsarya, jealousy. These are the highlights. Don't think there's only these 6. There are many ramifications. And these are the enemies. And the Arjuna movement within you destroys all those enemies. So Sanjaya said, Dhritarashtra, O king, having thus spoken to Bhagavan Hrishikesha, Arjuna, known by the name Gudakesha and Parantapa, concluded, O Govinda, I will not fight, and became silent. Mother has prepared food and asked the baby to take the the mud out of his mouth. And maybe say, avoid it. Figure that out. Simple commentary. And with this I will conclude. Om Trayambakam Yamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukam Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Om Shri Krishnaya Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om.
गुरु मात पिता गुरु बंधु सखा तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। गुरु मात पिता गुरु बंधु सखा गुरु मात पिता गुरु बंधु सखा तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। प्रियताम तुम्ही प्राणनाथ तुम्ही प्रियताम तुम्ही प्राणनाथ तुम्ही तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तुम्ही भक्ति हो तुम्ही शक्ति हो तुम्ही भक्ति हो तुम्ही शक्ति हो तुम्ही मुक्ति हो मेरे सांब शिवा। तुम्ही मुक्ति हो मेरे सांब शिवा। गुरु मात पिता गुरु बंधु सखा गुरु मात पिता गुरु बंधु सखा तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तुम्ही प्रेरणा तुम्ही साधना तुम्ही प्रेरणा तुम्ही साधना तुम्ही आराधना मेरे सांब शिवा। तुम्ही आराधना मेरे सांब शिवा। गुरु मात पिता गुरु बंधु सखा गुरु मात पिता गुरु बंधु सखा तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तुम्ही प्रेम हो तुम्ही करुणा हो तुम्ही प्रेम हो तुम्ही करुणा हो तुम्ही मोक्ष हो मेरे सांब शिवा। तुम्ही मोक्ष हो मेरे सांब शिवा। गुरु मात पिता गुरु बंधु सखा गुरु मात पिता गुरु बंधु सखा तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। प्रियतम तुम्ही हृदयनाथ तुम्ही, प्रियतम तुम्ही प्राणनाथ तुम्ही, तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम। तेरे चरणों में स्वामी मेरे कोटि प्रणाम।
While you're enjoying your prasad, and before we open the floor to questions and answers, I'd like to read you another selection from the newest book, Mystic Pathways Through the Bible. This is chapter 11, entitled Ascend the Heights of Detachment. As you'll see, it deals with a very controversial and often misunderstood quotation from Lord Jesus, and also a concept related to that about dispassion that is much misunderstood by many aspirants when the Guru teaches about being dispassionate, of having vairagya, and detachment. What does that mean in our human relations? As described in the New Testament, Lord Jesus gave a profound message to his closest disciples. And this is a quote from Matthew. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. This is a shocking statement. Everyone knows that Jesus came to establish peace. But then, what did he mean by this paradoxical statement? And what was he expressing when he continued, He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. When Jesus states that he had come with a sword to turn man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, he is referring to doing battle with the attachments and illusions that are based on egoism. The relatives represent the deluded attitudes one holds towards worldly relationships. He is mine, she is mine, these children are mine. These attitudes are fundamentally based on fear. The more you intensify the feelings of attachment, the I-ness and mine-ness, known in Sanskrit as ahamta and mamata, the more you intensify the cloud of ignorance that blocks out the luminous light of God. Just as clouds shut out the shining sun, so do these illusions of ownership. They form the fabric of the world process and drive one to constantly wander from one birth to the next in the vain pursuit of achievements that ultimately end in emptiness. However, when you turn to God, He descends upon you with a sword of light. As the sun rises, it sends forth swords of light that pierce the heart of darkness. From the point of view of the darkness, the sun is a terrible force that comes to destroy it with a sword, turning relative against relative. But from the point of view of the light, it is a wondrous development. Similarly, God within the heart tears asunder the illusions created by the mind, steeped in the darkness of ignorance, the very cause of pain and suffering. When this happens, there unfolds the unimaginable beauty of divine love, the ultimate source of peace and supreme joy. The statement is not meant to create a sense of disharmony. What it really implies is that God should be loved in all relations. It is from the ego standpoint that someone is your father, mother, or child. From a higher standpoint, you recognize that God alone is in all. When you understand that God is embodied in all human beings, you are sacrificing the ego's value. You are sacrificing your father when you realize that the divine self is within him and you serve God in him. You are sacrificing your mother when you begin to serve her, not as a mother, but as God in the form of mother. Advanced religion implies developing a penetrating attitude by turning away from the limited names and forms and embracing what is truly behind those names and forms. Religion becomes profound when your dealings with others are not based on ego, but rather are based on the understanding that God is the indweller of all. Jumping to another part of this chapter. In general, people are confused about the meaning of detachment because this is a very subtle and advanced philosophical concept. If you do not understand the concept properly, you may misinterpret it to mean that you should be cold, indifferent, or even cruel. A person who has just attended a yoga lecture about vairagya, or detachment, might go back home and tell his relatives, "I'm no longer attached to you. Do whatever you want. Let the baby cry. I don't care. I'm detached." But that is not the real meaning of detachment. Detachment is meant to withdraw you from your illusions and direct your vision to the divine within each person. To the extent you withdraw from illusory forms of love and attachment, to that extent a more profound love unfolds within your heart towards others. A love of this sort is like sunlight. When the sun rises, clouds catch the rays and begin to glow, decked with multicolored attire. Similarly, as more profound love unfolds in your heart, it touches every aspect of your personality, endowing it with luminosity and magnanimity. There is a parable that vividly illustrates the imprisoning nature of attachment. There was once a king who was especially fond of his pet hawk. It was his custom to take the hawk to a nearby forest to hunt with him. Often, while flying over the forest, the hawk would pass over a hut where an old woman lived, and he would fly down and peer inside. It seemed like such a congenial and cozy place to the hawk, and there was usually a warm fire glowing in the fireplace. Whenever the woman saw the bird, she would beckon him, saying, "Come, little child, come take some delicious food by the fire." On one occasion, the hawk decided to enter the old woman's hut, thinking that it would be wonderful to live in a warm place with someone who would give him so much love. No sooner had he flown through the window than the woman caught hold of him, tied a string around his neck, and clipped some of his feathers so he could not fly. As she did so, she said, "I'm doing all this just for you because I love you. Stay here with me forever." And so the hawk became a prisoner. From the woman's point of view, it was out of love, and the hawk became enticed. But the moment he did so, he lost his freedom of flight. Love based on attachment runs the same course. When you love someone with attachment, your ego is always planning to tie that person down so that he or she may always stay as close to you as possible. When your love is conditioned by attachment, you have unwittingly created bondage, not only for the other person, but for yourself as well. When higher love develops, however, You realize the joy of inner freedom for yourself, as well as for the other person. You no longer feel threatened by the possibility that the person may leave you. Your purpose then becomes one of helping the soul rather than tying it down. Unless there is deeper love, one cannot let go of lesser love. As you discover the deeper love of God, attachments melt away, and you find that you have no expectations as you perform duties for the people you love. The very fact that you have loved another person and helped that person grow is fulfilling. When you have spiritual love in your heart, you do not develop attachments because the joy you feel surpasses ordinary human love. This is the implication of Christ's statement, "He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me." The moment your mind becomes caught up by names and forms, like mother and father, you develop attachment. You want to tie down different individuals in the network of raga. But when you develop divine love, you are spontaneously sacrificing, self-effacing, enduring, and forgiving, just as a mother is with her child. Thus, a love that waits, sacrifices, and inspires emanates from your heart when attachments fade. The message of Christ, and indeed of every religion, is to transcend your ego, dissolve its illusions, and live to recognize the divine self in all. If you do so, there will then be the most profound fulfillment within your heart, and you will discover a treasure that never perishes. You will become truly wealthy in the spiritual sense. And a little reminder, one of our best bumper stickers from Swamiji. Don't fall in love, rise in love. Turn this way.
Modified, soar in love.
Soar in love. Don't fall in love. Soar in love.
So as Swamiji likes to joke, we're opening the floor. So don't be afraid, you won't fall through. But we're opening the floor to questions. So please raise your hand if you have a question for Swamiji. And Radhika's ready to bring you the mic.
Swamiji, I was wondering, similar to the woman who clipped the bird's wings, what advice would you give somebody who wants to love, they want to be close, but they have a deep wound from when they were really young that they want to, they do everything they can, but they have this wound that just keeps coming up and prevents them from rising to love?
Bring the person to a doctor. I'm talking about. Bring the person to Satsang. How to bring the person to spiritual association. And it's not one day's job. It's a gradual way of handling the person so that the mind becomes more and more interested in gaining strength by japa, meditation, entering into yoga exercises. When all this begin to happen, then change occurs. Until then, you can go on. All your advice should be how to encourage the person to a Godward movement. And how will you do it? Everyone has to have followed their own art. And the art comes from the heart.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Swamiji, we've been watching the Ramayana,
Mhm.
and I'm wondering if there's any significance to the number 14, because it keeps coming up a lot of times.
For
Rama was exiled 14,
For 14 years, yeah.
uh,
In Mahabharata, they reduced it to 12.
Again?
In Mahabharata, they have reduced it to 12. This is just allegorical, but it follows astrological concept. When Saturn becomes negative, Shani Dasha, it continues for 7 years. And it is matter of psychology also to become a mature aspirant, something you have adopted in a, say for example, a person has gone to an ashram, and if you were to stay for 7 years at least, a great change will occur. That change will be profound. Lesser change will not be there. Person may feel changed. So, 7 has been given from the ancient tradition. See, traditional concepts, they are matter of change. But as progress advances, you don't stick to it. See, in other words, that's just allegorical. Allegorical, which simply means continue your sadhana with intensity day by day. Abhyasa. Abhyasa should not be stopped. 7 is only a allegorical term. 7 years, 14 years. Just like in the scripture, Parikshit was given that he will die in 7 days. But that applies to everyone. You die between Sunday to Saturday. How long should you practice sadhana? Do it 7/24 and add 12 to it. Using modern language. 7 days of a week, 24 is all 24 hours, and for the whole year 12. 7/24, 12.
Thank you.
Swamiji, for those who are starting the Gita for the first time, haven't done it with you before, can you make clear why Arjuna had the despondency when he stood in the center between the two armies? What was it that made him despondent and confused and being reluctant to fight?
Simple psychological matter. Let me explain to you. Sometimes, even in sport, you have that idea, I'm going to do the best. Internally, you have imagined how you will jump up and dive into it. But when you come to the exact scene and see the reality, the mind becomes shocked. This is illustrated in the Mahabharata. Remember that story of when Arjuna was in the incognito period, Uttar, the son of Virat, when he heard the Kauravas have come and attacked their kingdom, He said, I alone can defeat them all. And Arjuna, who was at that time incognito, playing a lady type of personality, a dancer, teacher of music and all that. He says, Uttara, that he would be driving his chariot. Somehow he be persuaded. He didn't like that type of person should drive his heroic chariot, but he had no choice. At that time, there's the whole story, all a strange predicament. As he drives, he goes on saying, I'm going to destroy them all, etc. Arjuna drives the chariot, and when he sees all of them, now he jumps out of his chariot and begins to run away. That means there's a big difference between theoretical understanding and a practical confrontation. You sit down in Satsang and theoretically you receive a lesson in Vedanta. All is Brahman. You are not the body, not the mind, not the intellect, not the sense. Brahman. He said, how easy? Why do people make it so difficult? I go home hungry and desiring tea, and no tea is there. Making a joke. Now we forget about all his Brahman. All your teeth come out, tongue begins to spill. Abusive words. Brahman is gone. So, theoretical knowledge and practical confrontation requires a certain big change. And that's what's suggested in the Gita.
Swamiji, is it a correct understanding, in the case of Uttara, he was a young man, and then he saw this mighty army and all these warriors that nobody could defeat. So for him, it was just total fear of dealing with such a massive power. But with Arjuna,
yes, now Arjuna's level is at an advanced level. Advanced level, he is looking for the purpose behind it. He can fight and he can win, he knows that. But what is the purpose behind it? So it is not out of fear, but out of losing so many loved ones. And he's calculating how many people will suffer, etc., etc. He forgot the whole world is created by God. It's God's headache.
and it's really the impact of moha, the fact
That's
that
the impact of moha.
those relatives, the
Yes,
people
that's
he
why
sat on their lap.
That's
and
moha
they
begins
raised
with,
him.
Gita begins with that moha chapter, Vishada Yoga. Portrayal of moha. Moha blocks your strength, your divine potentiality. It blocks those three the and makes you miserly.
Tat Sat, Swamiji. I am coming from other studies of yoga from different places and very interested in engaging more with your teachings and what is happening here, and also incorporating them into my daily practice. And so I'm curious about what you recommend for a morning sadhana practice from a very logistical aspect, what you would imagine it might look like.
Answer cannot be simple. It will depend upon you. What's your predicament? What type of plan you have in your life? If you are a doctor and you have early session in the hospital, then what I'm leading you to understand? Figure out by your own experience. But basic, general, ideal plan, waking up in Brahma Muhurta, which means between 4 to 6, whatever seems comfortable, wake up. When you wake up, do everything possible. Learn certain art or train yourself in such a way that you don't wake up and go back to sleep, and wake up and go to bed. But follow certain routine. If necessary, you can do some pranayama exercises, Surya Namaskar. I'm just giving suggestions, that's not. But you have to figure out what will make you alert. Once you are alert, then begin your day with japa, devotional meditation in front of the deity. Do your puja, invoke God, do japa, meditation, prayer. All that makes your day more quality, better the day. Handling the day with a sattvic mind, that has immense value, because you will ward off many unnecessary activities. You will create good karmas. You will utilize every opportunity in a positive way. The duties that you perform will have more efficiency, skill, dexterity. But if morning itself has started with a headache and confusion and stress, why did I wake up so late? When you don't enjoy when driving your car. Your mind is missing all the sense of relaxation. How to have, in the world of daily battle that goes on, how to allow the mind to have some space where it can relax and understand that process becomes very simple if you become practice it day by day. Just like sleeping, you have no problem. For masses, so many changes occur when you go to sleep, but you simply lie down. Don't care. In the same way, practicing japa, etc., trains your mind in such a way that entering into inner relaxed state becomes very simple. And it stays even while you are doing your job. Then you are gaining success in karma yoga.
And I'm hearing that if there is variety in the practice from day to day, then because there are some traditions that are very particular about certain.
You can listen to different traditions, practice it, but don't go into, because it is being said by some big name that you can't pronounce. Therefore, it is more authentic. Don't go after palavras, verbosities.
Thank you.
Sometimes you may be doing yourself something qualitatively, and you hear someone tempting you to do something degrading, lesser than what you already are doing. So don't fall for that trap.
And also make sure that you set your little phone to get Swamiji's message at 6, his little message, 6 a.m. That's a good part of the morning's firecracker wake-up parcel. I'd like to thank the people who made your delicious meal. And guess what? Sometimes we thank her, and she's not here. And she's here. This is Lata and her family, and she made the bulk of your delicious meal. And we thank her. And we thank Vasudeva for the dessert and Padma Devi, as usual, for the salad. Remember that our next major festivity will be in July, Sunday, July 22nd. We'll be celebrating Guru Purnima. And let's hope we can all be together for that event. And classes continue as usual. Tomorrow on Monday, Swamiji does not lecture here. He takes a break. But on Tuesday and Wednesday at 7:30, he lectures on Yoga Vashishta. On Thursday, Swamiji is also not in the satsang room, but there is a discussion group, an interactive discussion group. They're discussing ideas on the art of positive thinking, and that's between 6 and about 7 or 7:15 here in the room. All are invited to participate, share your ideas. On Friday, Swamiji lectures on the Ramayana by Saint Tulsi Dasji. And Saturday, we have pranayam at 7 and guided meditation with Swamiji at 7:30. So that's our wonderful schedule. And it goes on and on, thank God, with Swamiji's help, without interruption. He doesn't go away. He just blesses us with satsang. So we are eternally grateful that he doesn't travel like most gurus do. He stays with us. And so now if you would...
Every day I go to New Zealand.
So we ask Swamiji to conclude with prayer. We ask Swamiji to conclude with prayer, and then we'll have Kumkum blessing.
Prayer for health, long life, peace, prosperity, and enlightenment. Prayer for peace, harmony, and all the bliss for the whole world. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukmiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschidduka Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purname Vavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Hari